Happy the man, and happy he alone, he who can call today his own, he who, secure within, can say, tomorrow do your worst, for I've lived today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Those words are from a Roman poet, Horace, and he said them over 2,000 years ago. So what I'm about to share with you this morning, as many of you know from past experience, is not new. Leadership is something that requires a lot of wisdom, and people have pondered the issues for thousands and thousands of years. People like Horace came from a literate age, so we can actually read what he said. I would suggest that we want to do more than that. We want to not just heed, but put into action some of this wisdom. Let's just look at what Horace was saying again. Happy the man, and happy he alone, he who can call today his own, he who, secure within, can say, tomorrow do your worst. I live today. Now, the Romans didn't listen. They did not call today their own. They handed their power over to emperors. They did not come from security within. They left their security to the wealth and the plunder of the Roman Empire. The results, ladies and gentlemen, was the Roman Empire, as we all know, collapsed, and the standard of living that they achieved was lost for 1,500 years and was only equalled in the 1900s and finally surpassed. Historians call the age when the empire collapsed the Dark Ages. Question, is that where we're going? Do we want to repeat that mistake? We have an incredible ability to repeat the same error again and again and again. Horace talks about happiness. And that's important because I've always believed that leadership and management go together. You have to have both. But management is assessed by the efficiency it produces. And hence we are obsessed nowadays, especially with all this gadgetry we've got, with getting things more and more efficient. Our politicians talk about the economy becoming more efficient. Our businesses call it the same thing. And we need that. However, leadership is measured by the standard of morale. How happy are we? How happy are the people in this country? Well, I have to say that we've got a problem. The AMA, at the end of last year, turned around and said, depression is at epidemic rates in Australia right now. Death through drug overdose doubles in Queensland every year. In the last 10 years, we have doubled our prison population in Queensland. We have, in Australia, one of the highest youth suicide rates. Right now, I wouldn't want to put my hand up as the leader of this country. I don't think I would be assessed against the measurement of morale very highly. Happy the man, said Horace, and happy he alone, he who can call today his own. People are not calling today their own. They're not coming from security within, they're coming from security without. And if we're talking about leadership, we have to start with how we lead ourselves and move on. And that rather reminds me of the story of the taxi driver who picked up the passenger, and the passenger got into the back seat, and they were cruising down the road and been doing so for about 10 minutes. When the passenger suddenly remembered he had to go back and get something, he left something behind in the office. So he tapped the taxi driver on the shoulder. The taxi driver froze, his eyes bulged, and it was quite a scary moment. But then he sort of wrinkled himself and he was fine, but he took no notice of the passenger. So the passenger leaned over again and tapped him on the shoulder. At which point, he went into a complete paroxysm and he swerved across the road, across the centre lane, on the other side, down the gully, missed the lamppost by inches, and screamed to a halt. finally, when both of them had collected their wits, the passenger said, "Look, mate, I was just trying to get your attention so we could turn around." And he said, "I'm sorry, mate." He said, "This is my first day as a taxi driver. So for the past 35 years, I've driven a hearse." Question, how many of us are still driving the hearse? How many of us are still carrying our misery in the back seat? We have to get better at it. I suppose that moving around in different cultures, as Steve was saying, has opened my mind to the fact that we are not alone in Western culture. Eastern cultures and all sorts of other cultures have looked at these same issues and come up, interestingly, with very similar answers. It doesn't matter whether you go and work with the Batans or the Northwest Frontier or the Gurkhas, or you go into a Stone Age village in New Guinea. Not many of them left, there were when I was there. And you find that people in their ancient wisdom actually are very close to some of the issues that we would have cherished more before the Industrial Revolution came than we do now. To be recognised a leader, the first thing in just about every culture I've been to that has to be demonstrated is that you've got courage. And what I'd like to do this morning is to give you a template, if you like, that you can walk out of here with and say, any decision that I make in my home, my business, my social life, or even the way that I treat the waiters and waitresses who are serving me breakfast this morning, and indeed how I treat myself, use this template. Courage was often tested in bravery terms in the old days. Now, bravery is part of courage, but it's certainly not the full picture. What we're saying here is that you go to the root of the word, and back we go to Rome, because courage comes from Latin, cor agere. 2 words, cor agere. It means to come from the heart. And what the Romans meant by this was that you need to be life-centered and life-giving. Life-centered, life-giving. So the first point in the template is what I'm about to do life-centered and life-giving? Now, plenty of people will turn around and say, you must not push anything but a win-win paradigm. And you go, yeah, that sounds like a good ethic, good. But while no one's looking, hey, I need this, so I'll put a win-lose paradigm out there. Because that's business, that's the way it goes. Win-lose paradigm does not have courage. And lose-win paradigms certainly don't have courage. And yet a lot of people push both. I've seen people who've claiming to be leaders, who will treat a waiter or a waitress like dirt. Interestingly, some of them have been waiters and waitresses during their university days themselves and have forgotten what it was like. It's amazing, I always find, especially if you turn in the evening to a drink waiter and say thank you and all the rest of it, you find your glass is never empty.